We talk about military career. We talk about the hero aspect, but none of it is without family, period. It's the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the mothers, the fathers, the uncles, the aunts, the siblings. It's everybody that's involved, because when you have such a cool opportunity to serve the world's greatest nation, there's always a fundamental aspect that keeps it together, and that's family.
What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic here. Brittani Owens to my right.
Hello.
Brittani, it's been a while since we've had you in the podcast
studio.
It's
been a long time. It's been like 4 or 5 years.
Well, it's good to have you back.
It is great to be back.
And across from us, virtually, we have Mr. Brian Soliday and Mr. Dale Veneklasen. And we're going to talk about some really cool things that we've all been involved with. Well, primarily you three. I'm just going to, facilitate a little bit. But we've got the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation. We've got Dale and his military career, and then we also have the Vortex Heroes program, Brittani, which you've kind of been, I guess, spearheading, if you will. And at least for us in the room, that's kind of what brought all of us together and how we got to know these guys a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we lead with the Vortex Heroes program, and then we'll dive into the other stuff. So tell us about it, the impetus of the Vortex Heroes program, like, why Vortex decided to do it, and then how you go.
Okay. Well, yes, absolutely. So last year was our first year sponsoring the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl down in Fort Worth, Texas. And as part of that sponsorship, obviously that is, all about our armed forces and everything like that, since we are, and then in addition, we're also, veteran owned, operated, founded, all of the things. So, veterans are very, very near and dear to our hearts. We employ about 10%, of our workforce as veterans. I know you know all this, but just for everybody else listening. And so when we came on as a sponsor of the Armed Forces Bowl, we really wanted to find a way to give back to those people that have served our country and are continually serving, both their country when they kind of stop serving. So really focusing on, the service after their service. And as part of that, we asked for submissions for people to, nominate their hero. We called it the Believe in Heroes. And as part of that, we had 2 veterans and their guests were selected to an all expenses paid trip to the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas. I went down there with another Vortex employee and we got to hang out. We went to a rodeo. We went to the Armed Forces Bowl. It was a lot of fun. And that's how I ended up being connected with these guys. Brian nominated Dale. So Dale and I would like to say we formed a friendship over the last year now. And so it's been phenomenal, working with these guys. We had so many wonderful applicants last year. And I feel very fortunate to, be a part of this and also get to continue, this program this year. But really excited to kind of highlight Dale and Brian here.
Very cool. Yeah, like you said, Brittani, I mean, supporting the military and our veterans, I mean, that is definitely at the core of Vortex's being, right? And this was another great way that I guess we could, do that, put our money where our mouth is a little bit, and it sounds like have a good time
and
doing it.
Everybody loves football. What's more America than football in Texas?
I've drawn a blank.
I know. I can't tell you.
Maybe shoot a few guns while you're there.
Maybe. I don't know.
But okay, so Brian, you nominated Dale, and you are, you're one of the co-founders of the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation. We got a lot of heroes going on right now, including Dale. And Dale, we're gonna get to your story here in a little bit. But Brian, how did you meet Dale, and how did you come to nominate him for the Vortex Heroes program?
So, we've actually known each other for about 15 years now. So it started back in like 2009. I was the state chair for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the state volunteer chair, and was at an event down in Trinidad, Colorado. Had an outfitter say, "Hey, I have a couple of deer tags. You want to bring some veterans down for a hunt? And I thought, well, that'd be kind of fun, right? And so I picked up the phone, did a Google search, found the information line at Fort Carson, called them. It took me months to actually find somebody that could help. And they reached out, found a couple of different people, one who happened to be Dale, another young captain. We took him down there for a deer hunt, and we bonded, became friends. And, you fast forward several months, and Dale reaches out and tells me that they're going to get deployed, right, over in theater. And I said, you know what we should do? We should throw a wild game feed for you down at the fort, down at Fort Carson. And so I got a half a dozen Art Elk Foundation volunteers, including the senior regional director, a guy by the name of Alan Kirby, and had everybody, all kinds of volunteers, donate meat. So we had bison and bear and deer and elk and antelope and goose sticks and you name it, we had it. And we went down and we fed the 110 Cav, the 110 Cavalry, which is Dale's the command sergeant major. And so we had a great day with them. They went off, and one day I received a package from FedEx, and it looked like somebody had taken it and drug it through the mud and grease and, chopped it up and everything. And I'm like, I look at it and it's from Afghanistan. I'm like, what the heck is this, right? And I open it up, and it's a flag that was flown in my honor by Dale and his team over Camp Nathan Smith in Kandahar City on the 10th anniversary of 9/11.
Wow.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Like actual chills.
I tell you what, that's my most prized possession in my house. You walk in my front door, it's in a shadow box there with pictures of Dale, pictures of, together when we did the event, a couple of challenge coins that he gave me, so that kind of bonded me with this guy. He's a hard guy, but he's a very humble person, right?
Dale's a softie. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah, he is. He don't let the guys tell you anything different. So anyway, so I went on, and we did a lot of, through the Elk Foundation, did a lot of veterans hunts, and hooked up with some people up in Northwest Colorado, some landowners who got us tags. I was blessed. I took Sal Junta, one of the Medal of Honor recipients, on a hunt. I took another guy, Clint Romisha, who another Medal of Honor recipient. I took him on a hunt up there. So I've been blessed to be around true American heroes, right? And I was on the board of directors of a group here in Colorado, and the executive director really wasn't about family. It was about the vets, which is great, but he didn't want to have any kids involved because of he said he didn't feel like the veterans could hold their tongue, in front of kids. And I had been on so many hunts. I had done well over 100 youth hunts already at that time. And I'm thinking, that's not what I want to do. I want to take the vets and their kids out. And so Doc and I, the other co-founder, we were sitting on the board of directors of this group, and we just said, let's do something different. Let's do something more family veteran oriented. And I called Dale and I said, hey, here's what I'm thinking of doing. I think you'd be a part of it, right? And that's what, in June of 2021, we formed Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation. And that's what the focus is. It's about veterans and their families, getting them out, bonding in the field on hunts. And that's what we focus on, right? It's big game hunts and turkey hunts. We're not, and it's for veterans in Wyoming and Colorado on hunts in Wyoming and Colorado. So we're really, it's not a national organization. I have a full-time job. I serve as chief revenue officer for a digital mapping company. Dale was working full-time, Doc's full-time. So this is our weekend thing, right? And, but it's a lot of fun. It's so rewarding. I mean, I've taken, over 200 first-time hunters, youth hunters out in the field. And that's what we focus on. So the kids that go hunting with us, first-timers only. They're kids that have never taken big game before. And we're taking them out on private land with special vouchers that we work with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, that we work with the district wildlife managers to set the season. So they're beyond special, right? They're beyond special hunts. And, in Colorado, we have probably 150,000 acres that we have access to from some of our great landowner supporters. And so,
wow. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely incredible and so important, and I guarantee has such a huge impact on the lives of those who get to participate in those experiences. You know, I don't personally have a military background, but I've hunted my whole life, and I can tell you some of my most important, memorable, meaningful experiences where I've been able to forge bonds, very strong, permanent bonds with other people, have come through hunting and hunting with other people, and it's just such a powerful activity, and the fact that you're able to take, I mean, that's a pretty staggering number of people to have been able to give that type of experience. So thank you for doing that.
It's been the coolest thing being on the receiving end. Dale has been so kind to send me photos of some of their successful harvests this year. And it has been truly so cool to just see the smile on these kids' faces. And they just look so proud. And as a newer hunter too, I'm like, I've been there. I was there last year, you know, in like the very, you know, new hunter category. And so it's so cool, you know, to just see what you guys are doing. And I know, you know, Dale's number of taking kids out hunting is probably just as staggering as Brian's. And so thank you guys again so much for what you do. I know I feel like we'll say that quite a bit, but you know, we're so lucky to, you know, be in your guys' presence and get to work with you guys and just kind of honor what you guys do.
Absolutely. Dale and Brian, you know, I mean, you guys are, you know, you're providing these experiences and that are so meaningful and important to I guess the recipients, if you will. What are you guys getting out of it?
I get the exact same thing as Brian. It's the pleasure of watching these kids smile. It's the first event truly that a mom or a dad has been able to go out with their youth and harvest a big game. So it's an experience where we talk about weapon safety. It's an experience where we talk about how we're going to scout, how we're going to get on these animals. It's about being patient, being calm. And the great thing is that unlike soldiers, they listen to you. You're not going to teach them a bad habit because they have no habits right now. So everything you tell them, it's ingrained, and it's very important that they pay attention to that because ultimately, successful or not, there's a very happy family that had a memory of a lifetime. And I'll tell you, going back to what Brittani said, you know, the Believe in Heroes campaign of 2023, it was a recognition of a team selecting myself because of a nomination of Brian Soliday that humbled myself because my wife and I truly don't do stuff like this, right? It's not for Dale Veneklasen. It's not anybody who's served with me understand it, but it's the recognition in that grand stage. You said, what else could be better than a football game? The rodeo was amazing, right? The camaraderie with the fellow veteran, Brittani and her partner down there, just trying to relate to the military and just let everybody's hair hang out. And I it hung out so much, I lost mine. Right? So, I mean, though I was taken back and I was notified of my selection, I was honored that my buddy Brian nominated for me. So we were up stalking an elk on a nice hunt. And the only thing we were truly stalking, I said stalking elk, it was a field, right? A very large field and a picket fence because there was no elk on there. And then Brian got a phone call after numerous hours of glassing this empty field, and he just started screaming on how excited he was. And I said, what is wrong with you, right? So I was blessed to have this opportunity to serve one, but the foundation of our nation has provided the opportunity to live and fulfill these dreams. And for Brian to nominate me was absolutely a dream. And my wife and I were so blessed for his friendship and him taking the time necessary to do this. But what I got out of that nomination is exactly what these kids and these parents get out of their hunts. It's the exact same scenario, and it's breathtaking. And sometimes we have to take some kids and families out that may not be physically fit, right? So we cater to the individual. We do as much as we possibly can to make sure this is a memorable moment, and they can exercise that opportunity with us. And we are equally as happy as they are, believe me. So like I said in emails before, Vortex, yeah, you guys understand it, right? And the nation is grateful for that because Vortex does lead from the front in the aspect of helping us be successful.
Well, we definitely appreciate the kind words, but man, I mean, and like Brittany said, we're going to say it over and over again, but we can't thank you guys enough. And you know, the things that you guys are doing have just got to, you know, they're just so critically important. And I have to imagine it's just incredibly fulfilling at the same time.
Yeah, I'll just say that, you know, I was blessed. I grew up a block and a half from my grandfather. And so he was my buddy growing up, right? And we've done a number of hunts taking grandparents with their grandkids, right? For the grandkids' first hunt, right? Or a 3-generation hunt, right? Where the father, you know, the grandfather hunts, wants to get his grandson, the son doesn't hunt, right? And we take them out and we, you know, have the kid be successful, and just the look on the grandparents' face, right? They're just so excited, right, to get that moment with their grandchild, because that, you know, a lot of these guys are a little bit older, don't have a lot of time left, right? And to be able to create that moment, right? And we're a part of that memory, right? We're a part of that memory. And you know, you think about memories. Dale, you and I, when we were out hunting a couple years ago with somebody, I got a message from a young man. Not a young man, younger than me, right? But we took him and his son out, and that's right. We were on the way to the bison hunt up in Powell, Wyoming, and he sent me a message and he said, "Hey, we celebrated New Year's, and we went around the table and asked everybody what was their favorite part of 2023." And you know, the little guy said, the antelope hunt with Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation, right? And so it's, you know, little Cooper, right? That was his top thing of the year, was being able to go out and shoot. And that little man, the kid knew ballistics. I mean, he was a 12-year-old kid, but he knew, like, he was spouting out ballistics on 6.5 PRC. And it's like, what are you talking about, right? And Dale asked him, he says, "Cooper, how come you know that stuff?" And he said, "Because I'm an American, sir."
Oh, that is awesome. I think that just exemplifies the experiences that you guys
Yeah.
are providing.
And Brittany is part of that story, because I shared that story with Brittany specifically. I even showed the photo of the little fella, because Cooper is just an amazing, stellar man. I said, "Cooper, how tall are you, buddy?" "I'm 5 foot 2 1/4, sir." I said, 5 foot 2 1/4.
Gotta have that quarter.
It was 4 foot 4 1/4.
A 4 foot 4 1/4. Yeah.
Yeah, little guy.
Just a little fellow, but just heart bigger than Texas.
All of those pictures, I know I mentioned, like, they made my day. Like, just their smiles, were bigger than their bodies. I swear. It was just so cool. And, you know, we provided some optics for them to use and take out there. And that's my favorite part of my job, you know, like, just being able to see stuff like that and, you know, just really see all of this kind of come to fruition, like, you know, full circle moment, all of the things. So please keep the text coming, Dale. Much appreciated.
I'll absolutely do that. Well, the cool thing is, you know, you guys have sponsored some really cool equipment, right? You've sponsored some nice binoculars, a spotting scope, just some great stuff to help us be successful. And when we give these kids these little pair of binoculars to look through, and I can't see through mine, sir. I said, "Well, you got to take the lens caps off, buddy." You know, it's just a great time. And you guys are part of it. That's why those photos are very important. And that's why Vortex is you know, pretty good to me. You know, I'm grateful for it. Obviously it's a privilege and a humbling opportunity to be having such quality people being part of this. So pictures are easy for us.
Yeah. And I will say too, you mentioned the equipment, the kits. So Brittany sent us, you know, I told her that, you know, the parents show up, the parents got nice glass, right? And everything else. And the kid's sitting in the seat and doesn't have anything. And we're glassing all the time, right? And so she sent a kit. So now in the morning when we start the hunt, we put the Vortex binoculars and the rangefinder on them, so they have their own kit, right, that they can use throughout the day. And it's really good, right? It locks them in, because then what do they want to for Christmas, what do they want? they want a Razor HD, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's our hidden agenda. You got us. But I mean, you're totally right. And I think oftentimes that can be, a forgotten component is getting kids optics, because I mean, you guys know, particularly out west, I mean, hunting, it can be incredibly optics intensive. And if that's how you're spending a good portion of your day, and you don't have a set of binoculars, or you're going to feel left out. And man, when you have your own binos and you can participate in that way, man, you are brought into it and you're contributing as much as anybody else. And I think it really brings those kids from more of, I guess, a spectator role to a participant. And it's just really, really important.
I was going to say, some of my favorite hunting memories are, it's not necessarily, the punch tag or anything like that. It's being able to watch a little fawn just run around in circles because they're so excited because they're in a pond, like things like that, it's, you have to look through the binoculars or see something like that. So just being able to give kids, that opportunity, with the lens caps up, preferably,
yes.
But making sure they can see it, everything like that. I can't say I haven't done the same thing though on the lens caps. You just get so excited, you're like, ooh, put them up, and then you're like, there's nothing there. And
it really does open up a whole new world and element of experiencing the outdoors and enhancing that outdoor experience, for the kids, for sure.
I'd like to share one more special event. I'll tell you, there was a young man just coming off a deployment. He brought his daughter out, and he just got home a few weeks prior to hand, and we had already had him scheduled for the hunt. And she shows up wearing sneakers and got lipstick on and fingernail polished. And, and I'm a very passionate, soft-spoken fella. And I said, you're the first one I've ever taken hunting that's wearing lipstick. This is kind of funny to me. But we give her a pair of binoculars, and what does she say to Brian and I? We're both glassing from the front seat going down the road, and she says, "There's a pretty buck." And we're like, "There's a pretty buck? Where?" And she points it off to the side. We're like, "Oh, that is a pretty buck." So then Brian stops and he said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "I think we probably need to harvest that pretty buck." So this young lady identifies the buck. We get around the side of the hill. We have to walk a little bit now. We're trying to get downwind and get everything set up perfectly for her. And we start stalking this buck. She not only stalks it, sees it during the first stalk, so she identifies it during the hunt, she stalks it, and then she gets on it right away, and she's ready, like right now, ready to shoot. And I said, stop. There's a farmhouse over there. We have to wait a little bit. And then she put this pronghorn down, first shot, fell in a spot, and she was just amazing. And I'll tell you, the female hunters, and I don't mean to pick on the little fellas out there, but we are way better with our female hunters with accuracy, because we have a joke. The first shot is free and the second shot is $10. So a lot of our young male hunters tend to get in that second shot category. Is that fair, Brian?
Oh, that's no doubt. No, the girls are great shots, and they listen, right? They listen. They're open to any sort of input that you have. And I will say this: it takes work from our side, but the last 2 years we're a 50-50 split male female on all of our youth hunters.
That's fantastic. That's huge.
And Colorado Parks and Wildlife loves that because they're trying to get more engagement from the female hunters. And so that's what we really, spend a lot of time and effort to make sure we do that, And it's interesting you bring up the young lady. She was scheduled to hunt this was in 23 when she shot this. In 2022, she was scheduled to hunt with us. And 2 weeks before the hunt, her father was deployed to Eastern Europe and had to cancel. And so when we did we do a drawing, we drew, and she received a buck tag, one of them, and that's, she was pretty happy. And so for her to, right, at sunrise, she sees the animal, spots it herself, and then we were able to get on it. And I got to tell you, the person that was the most excited about the whole thing was the landowner. We went back to his house, and Skeeter was just ecstatic, and he still talks about it. That's one of the biggest antelope ever taken on his property.
That's
so
awesome.
Cool.
one of my favorite parts about these stories is seeing the smiles on your guys' faces as you relay them to us. And that's super cool. Speaking of stories and experiences, Brian, you nominated Dale for our program. And when I watched the submission video that you created and the why behind that nomination, Brittany, I can tell you, I know why we picked it.
Yeah.
Dale, you had an incredibly robust, accomplished military career, and I'd love to dive into your career, and even man, if we can do it start to finish. It seems like everything you do, you're serving others. And I've even in our conversation now, I feel like you've been doing everything in your power not to talk about yourself. So now I'm going to make you do it. But tell us, what made you want to join the military? Where did you start? Where did you finish? I want to talk about the 110 Cav. That seems pretty unique. So if you can, man, let's just dive right in.
Well, you sent us some one-liners to think about, right? And you said in one of them was U.S. Army Buffalo Soldiers. What are they? And then I'll go back to your second part of the question. And you're right. I'm not going to talk about myself. That's just not me. You can force me. We're a distance away, but the Buffalo Soldiers, they're war-hardened warriors who believe in the values of our greatest nation on earth, America, right? They understood without the strength and passion towards maintaining our freedoms, we would be challenged, period. And I think we have a little bit of challenge now as we think about current affairs. But the Buffalo Soldiers were first activated in 1866, right? When you think about that time and you think about the Civil War and how they were activated, well, why were they active? Well, it was an all-black organization. They were activated to be the eyes and ears, to be the scouts, the reconnaissance teams, to get out there and identify people of interest and then provide feedback to the front lines. These guys originally formed as a segregated African-American unit. It was noted that in the 1860s, Plains Indians were called black troopers of the U.S. Army for the Buffalo Soldiers. And the Indians gave them the Buffalo Soldier name because of their hair, right? Because they had nappy black hair that was short like what's on the bison, the buffaloes, right? So that's how they got their name. And then it stayed with us, right? So over the years, when you think about the Buffalo Soldiers, the 10th Cavalry Regiment, they've served in the Indian Wars, the Spanish-American War, the Philippine-American War, the Mexican Expedition, World War I, not in World War I, but along the U.S.-Mexican border. When there was a time of need, right? World War II, Vietnam War, the Iraq War, in which I had the privilege of participating in, the war in Afghanistan, which I had the privilege of participating in. But ultimately, the 10th Cavalry Regiment is one of the most decorated organizations still serving today. As a matter of fact, when I was in the 1st Squadron, 10th Cavalry Regiment, we were awarded the Army Unit Valorous Award. And that was for the efforts of the troopers and the leadership that I served with to get that recognition for Southern and Western Afghanistan in 2011 for distinguished service. So some cool names, right? I'd like to share notable names and troopers that served as Buffalo Soldiers. First one was Mark Matthews, right? He was the oldest living Buffalo soldier who died at 111. He died in 2005, and he was buried in Arlington. Henry O. Flipper, he's the first African-American to graduate West Point in 1877, right? So the first commissioned officer from West Point, Henry Flipper, right? And people remember these names now that I say them because in our history books, right? John Pershing from October 1895 till 1897 was a first lieutenant, later general. Pershing commanded a troop in the 10th Cavalry Regiment. And then even up near recently, Kenneth Preston is a former command sergeant major of the Army. And then myself, Dale Veneklasen, had the privilege of serving in the 10th Cavalry Regiment, 1st Squadron, 10th U.S. Cavalry Regiment. So I'll tell you, it was just an amazing footprint. Now, why did I serve? Well, I was a troubled kid from South Dakota, right? just a small little frail fella, 5'3", maybe 112 pounds, and said, you know what, I got to do something different other than be in trouble on the weekends if I'm not running a plow or a disc in the fields. So I said, I'm going to join the Army. And then when I did that, I said that I was going to do the best I very could in the Army. So when I left Esteline, South Dakota in 1989, I said, I'm going to go join the Army and be an infantryman. And I had full intent on being part of the old guard. But back then, they couldn't waiver height, right? I was just a little bit too tall. So my 5-foot story was a little bit off. So 6'5", you're just a little too tall, Dale, but we'll give you the infantry atmosphere. So what do you want to do? I said, well, I have no idea what I want to do. I want to stay in the infantry. He said, well, we can give you this test, and if you do well, where do you want to serve at? I said, well, I want to serve in Germany. Done. Boom. Germany. How about a bonus? Would you like a bonus, Dale? Absolutely, I'd like a bonus. So then they threw a little bit of money at me. I said, well, this is getting better as it goes. So then that's kind of how my career started. I started off in Fort Benning, Georgia, went to basic training called OSIT, one-stop unit training is what it meant back then. And I think it's still the same thing today, actually. But the bottom line is I became an infantryman and went to Europe as my first duty station. And then I had some great opportunities. Not long thereafter, I met a tremendous, remarkable, beautiful woman. I called her my souvenir. I picked her up as a souvenir 34 years ago, my beautiful wife, Valtraud, and she goes by Lisa. And we got 2 amazing kids. So we talk about military career. We talk about the hero aspect, but none of it is without family, period. It's the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the mothers, the fathers, the uncles, the aunts, the siblings. It's everybody that's involved, because when you have such a cool opportunity to serve the world's greatest nation, there's always a fundamental aspect that keeps it together, and that's family. So everything else is just kind of gravy. If they're supporting you, you're able to do whatever you need to do to support our nation's callings.
I was going to say, as I have also met Lisa, and she is a absolutely phenomenal woman. I remember listening to the story about how you guys met, and I was wondering if you were going to bring Lisa up, that you brought her, met over in Germany. So phenomenal people. Cannot emphasize that enough.
Brittany had briefed me on that part of your story, and for a second there, I thought you were going to kind of maybe gloss over a little bit, and I was going to be like, so did any notable things happen while you were in Germany? But then you got there. So,
hey, your story stuck with me for how you met, so I had to brag on you a little bit.
I don't want her to say that on a podcast, because there's probably similar stories. So there may be a lot of unique stuff there, but it's cool. Military careers, whether it's 20 years or whether it's 4 years, people volunteer to serve their nation. And the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation is grateful for that. So, getting back to our organization, and I'll go back to the other stuff also, but our organization, I was so blessed to have the opportunity to have so many people surrounding my family helping other people. We never worried about the home front, because the home front took care of itself. So you can focus on mission and you can focus on deployments. It's not the overseas opportunities. It's what's happening at home front that keeps people focused on their jobs.
For sure. Dale, your time in the military, you definitely spent some time in theater, and highly decorated, in my opinion, and hopefully you'd be able to shed some light on some of these things. But Legion of Merit, Bronze Stars, Purple Hearts, plural on a couple of those things. So those things don't come without service and sacrifice. So please tell me, if you can tell us a little bit of maybe how you earned those things.
Well, I was blessed to be surrounded by tremendous leaders and soldiers throughout my military career. I've had numerous memories of troopers and soldiers that I've served with that are sombering memories, and I've had numerous that have been truly rewarding and inspiring memories. Our military service branches are the most resilient group of men and women I've ever had the privilege of being part of. I'll tell you, my medals are the soldiers' efforts for nothing that I have done. I've done nothing for these medals. The Purple Hearts, I call them foreign marksmanship badges. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I'll tell you, I was blessed enough to live and continue mission. So, but the efforts they provided help the flame of freedom to burn. It's not nothing that Dale Veneklasen has done. But also they're the heroes who volunteer to continue to serve, sacrifice, and endure our nation's callings. You know, just this year on June 6th, it was the 80th day marking D-Day, right? 70 years ago, the Korean War ended with a ceasefire. 51 years ago, Vietnam War ended, right? 33 years ago, the Gulf War ended in a ceasefire, which was a short stint, right? And then 2 years ago, the Afghanistan war transitioned. So these wars and conflicts remind us, as the branches of service, we still have work to do, right? We still have work to do. However, the true sacrifices come within our families. So I share with you the grandfather, the grandmothers, the moms, the dads, the aunts, the cousins, the siblings. But these are the immediate support resources whom support and deserve these medals. There's not anything that I've done, right? To get a foreign marksmanship badge and live, I'm blessed for that. To earn a couple of valorous Bronze Stars throughout my career, it's because of the people I served with. It was nothing that I did. It was people that thought that I did something greater than it went above and beyond. I think I just did my job. The Legion of Merit was a service award for spending just under 25 years in the military, and I was blessed to have that. And I gave that to my wife for her service.
I said I wasn't going to cry.
I know.
Man, nope. Dale, that's absolutely amazing, and I appreciate you sharing that stuff with us. Just what an incredible career. So, and thank you so much for your service. And like I said before, I can. It's very clear to me why Brian nominated you for this, and we chose wisely, Brittany.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with, Dale as well, we're just going to keep bragging on you, Dale. He continued to serve after he served. Mm-hmm. Came back home, obviously got very involved with the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation. I believe you were involved in many other things. And so, just, from the Vortex side of things, really just, honoring not only those who serve, but those who continue to serve after they serve. And, just spending time with these guys and the other veterans that I have had an absolute, honor meeting. It's, really been the same thread that they don't stop serving, and, serving others is their number one goal. And that just, is really inspiring kind of as a whole.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Brittany, because Dale, you're retired but not retired. So, like we said, heavily involved with the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation. What other things are you doing? How else are you spending your time? As always, in service of others.
It's all I'm doing is I'm living a dream, right? I'm not providing time or anything to anybody else, because if you love what you do, it's perfect. So whether we're helping the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation, taking that parent out with their youth or that veteran out, or whether it's with the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, serving as a secretary and staying with veterans and helping them work through systems with the VA, or going on that motorcycle ride to do a fundraiser through, we call it a poker run. And we give 100% of that money to a nursing home here in Colorado, Home Lake Nursing Home. It's one of the oldest nursing homes in North America. It was established just after the Civil War. But them veterans there, they need a little bit. We want to make sure we provide and give them a little bit, whether it's the military or Purple Heart, recognizing and seeing our World War II veterans, our Korean War veterans, our Vietnam veterans. I look at them and I'm in awe. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are my heroes. And they're like, what are you talking about? You served also? I said, no, you guys served. So it's humbling to get that. And then, there's something that I like to do, and that's with my youngest daughter, Jessica. She's got some disabilities, and I like to be involved with the Special Olympics. So I coach softball, basketball, and bowling, And it's not for me, again, because it's rewarding, but my wife and I are just encouraged by the smiles, because win, lose, or draw, everything is just exciting. So I've got a good friend that would provide drinks on occasion, and he had a little sippy cup, little, I don't know, I think it's Kool-Aid or something. I don't drink it. I'm hoping it's Kool-Aid. But one little fella drank like 12 of them straight. He said, "Coach, can I have another one?" I said, "Buddy, you got to ask your parents."
You're like, that's a lot of sugar.
I cannot let you tap out over drinking Kool-Aid fruit box thing. That's just not going to happen. But so it's just giving back to the community. Most military communities are grateful, right? That the service is there. Do we have some knuckleheads? Absolutely, right? But you learn from knuckleheads, right? That's what's unique about America. So, and if they do the same thing twice, well, then you just slap them harder, right? But the bottom line is that the things that I do, it is time consuming, but it's because I love doing it, and it's not a job. It's a passion. So that's that in a nutshell.
Awesome. Yep. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I guess, Brian, kind of turning to you, like, what made you, obviously we know kind of what made you want to nominate Dale, but like, what was the one thing in particular, that last year when you kind of saw this, that kind of, made you think Dale?
He's my hero. He's one of my best friends, but he's my hero. And not many people could say their hero is their friend, right? So that's another part of my life that I feel really blessed in, right? I get to interface with a guy that I look up to because he's incredibly humble, and it's always about everybody else, man. It's never about Dale, right? And so we've had a lot of fun together. We're going to have a lot more fun in the future, right? But it just, being able to be around somebody like that and see what they've done, and, he hasn't told you stories of why he's saying he talks about other people and that's why he got his awards. That's not the truth, right? He's a hero. He's done some amazing things as a warfighter. But it's not about him. It's about the others. So he's not going to tell you about that. When you sit on a hill out on a hill looking and there's no elk around for 5 days, you talk about a lot of stuff, right?
Yep. No, yeah, that's been made very clear throughout this discussion. I tried to drag it out of him, but it just wasn't.
I didn't think it was going to work.
I had high hopes.
Yeah.
But
one thing you can tell a quick story though. This is the epitome of Dale Veneklasen. So Buffalo soldier, right? In his office on the post on Fort Carson, he had a shoulder mount of a buffalo, right? Dale, tell him what you did with that when you had to go serve in Afghanistan.
So my battle buddy and I, John Cook, Lieutenant Colonel John Cook, and myself, and we deployed to Afghanistan in 2010-11. We took our mascot with us, which was Edward, a bison shoulder mount. So I mounted him on a board, and then we had ATVs. And then I told my guys, I said, I want you to mount that in front of the ATV. And they had no idea what I was going to do. So we mounted it on front of the ATV in Camp Nathan Smith. And when we took over and assumed responsibility of force protection measures to ensure our soldiers were safe at night, I drove Edward around the perimeter on the UTV and let people be aware, because I had a gunner on the top of the UTV with an M249 machine gun, 5.56 fully automatic. And I said, now that we've taken Edward around, he has secured the perimeter. Now it's time for you guys to do your job until we give up our responsibility. So I was very passionate about the lineage of our organization, very passionate about the strength and honor of our organization. And Edward deployed everywhere with me when I was the first squad unit, U.S. Cavalry Regiment Sergeant Major.
Yeah, I think the buffalo too. I know you had kind of, given the history of that, but I don't think we had a chance to talk about this. But one of our, values here at Vortex is be the buffalo. So the story goes is that buffaloes, in a storm or anything, most animals turn away and try to run away from it. Well, the buffalo just goes straight through it. to get ahead of it quicker. And that is something that we like to live with, at Vortex. And I think that's very applicable. And it really made me think of that when you were driving Edward around, just really going through the storm, facing it head on, just really, rolling with the punches and everything like that. So obviously, very applicable to that story as well. But I did not know that story, Brian. So thank you for sharing about Edward.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what was crossing my mind as well. Brittani has this wow, the Buffalo is kind of at our core values here at Vortex. And we've firmly adopted that mentality, that philosophy, and they are such a cool animal, and to see, that, in some ways, different ways, but a common tie between us and you there. And I don't know, is a buffalo, is that oversized baggage, or it sounds like he's well traveled.
I don't care about the size of the baggage. We put him in a quad con or a mill van.
Okay.
And that is a priority package. Whether he's going from Fort Carson to JRTC, Fort Carson to NTC, the Joint Readiness Training Center at Fort Polk, Louisiana, or Fort Irwin, California, he went everywhere with me. He didn't go with me. I just made him my baggage plan because he represented the soldiers that served the past and present.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it. Let's talk about, collectively, Brittani, you were there, but the, just your experience at the Armed Forces Bowl, what that was like. You talked a little bit about the rodeo, so maybe just dive into a little bit about that experience. And then, Brittani, after that, we'll talk a little bit more about the program and
Absolutely.
Where it's at right now and how people can nominate their hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, it was kind of odd how I got notified. Brian, he just looked over at me and he was like, "Holy crap," with a couple other adjectives. What's happening? And I said, "What's happening?" And he said, "Dude, let me show you this." And he showed me an email from Brittani to himself and the selection and nomination. So I let my little lady know, my beautiful bride, Lisa, know that, hey, we're going to be heading to Texas for the Armed Forces Bowl game. And she said, "Football?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "It's not foosball, it's football, but it'll be fun, honey." And she said, "Okay." Well, everything was casual. So I would absolutely encourage, because there's way more people out there that can represent the hero aspect than what I could. I was blessed to be selected for it. However, the event was amazing. It was low stress, other than the airport was a little stress because they already driven one circle, and they said, "Shoot, what is he wearing?" I don't know. Let me text him. I'm a tall guy. My wife's wearing a pink shirt. Well, it wasn't a pink shirt. It was a shirt that had pink on it.
Pink's the brand.
The brand Pink. So there you go. There's a free advertisement for Pink. But the bottom line is that we made the connection, and it was just so easy, simple, stress-free. Do what you want to do. Hey, here's what we have on the agenda. If you want to attend, great. If you don't want to attend, great. But for all those that do get selected, please attend. It sounds simplistic, but it's not. There's so much stuff that went into the organization to get us out for dinner, to get us out to the rodeo, to get back to the hotel for a casual gathering, in which I did not attend the casual gathering because, well, I'm old and I like my sleep at night. But I do wake up earlier than most people, so it probably equates. We could have the casual gathering in the morning where they were sleeping. And then the football game. So a lot of vendors, a lot of gripping and grinning, a lot of great pictures, no stress atmosphere, just Vortex saying thank you for being a veteran and thank you for your nomination. I just can't say how happy I was to attend. So grateful for my battle buddy Brian to select me and to be part of Vortex. And then more importantly, the after effects, right? The continued leadership, friendship that I've got with Brittani, your guys' sincere generosity, helping these kids get kitted, to help them think about the future and a possible hobby in the future or something they just fall in love with. Because the kids that we've taken out, all but a couple of them, they're focused. They want the biggest, broadest elk that they can find now. So I think they're truly excited about the future as a recreationist. So that really excites me. But then the memories also are rewarding. But the Heroes program, the Believe in Heroes program, I'm so sorry. The Believe in Heroes program is a remarkable way to say thank you. And it's my way to say thank you back also, because I really appreciate everything that went into it. So thank you, Mark and Brittani, for letting me be part of that. And I know there's other people behind the scenes, but I've emailed them also in the past, and that they know that I am very sincere for having this opportunity. Because again, it's not for Dale Veneklasen, but there are like people out there that will absolutely appreciate your sincere generosity. And then the American people should absolutely understand how important this is, especially as we come up to this Veterans Day. Mm-hmm. And I talked about the conflict in the years that it's been since we've had. It's just people tend to forget one day to another, but I tend to remember everything that's happened, and I'm grateful for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the coolest things. Just so we obviously had Dale and his wife. We had Adam and his wife, who was another veteran. And then we had 2 internal Vortex employee veterans go. So there was a big group of us, and just really, sitting around, sorry, Ryan, shooting the shit. Like, Ryan's going to beep that out for me. But just really just sitting around, like listening to everybody's stories, like Dale mentioned, the friendships, and then, everything that is kind of, forged from that. I still talk to Dale, still talk to Adam, the other, nominee, and, just really having that has been, I know I said this at the beginning, but it doesn't feel like a job. Right. I feel very, very fortunate. And these guys were troopers flying back on Christmas Eve as well. Let's not forget that the game was on December 23rd, and we had a phenomenal group of people, and just being able to chat and hear their stories. And I got to meet a Medal of Honor recipient, and that was one of the coolest things. And
I forgot about that. The Bugle magazine.
Yes, yes.
Well, that's what I had actually called Sal and said, Sal, you're one of my heroes. You need to go down and meet my other hero, Dale. So I said, and he had been honored by Vortex previously, and he lives in Dallas now. But so Sal came down to meet you guys, which was great.
That was really, really cool. Dale was like, you want to go meet a Medal of Honor recipient? And I was like, what? Like, just, first glance. And I know Dale kind of joked too that Lisa wasn't too thrilled about football, but I think she had a good time. I think we brought it out of her. I don't know if she's a forever football fan, but I think she had a good time.
She is. She had a great time.
Well, I mean, just hearing you guys talk about it, I mean, an event like that is so much bigger than the game. I mean, we've talked about sharing a hunting camp and something like this. I think there's a lot of parallels there where you have that camaraderie and you have that time, but it's in kind of like a mellow, relaxed, laid back environment where you can bond with people, and you are breaking bread and you're going out to dinner together and having those conversations and getting to know each other on a deeper level than you might not be able to all the time.
We broke the ice over tabletop barbecue and picnic table barbecue. It was great. And then we walked to the rodeo and got to watch that. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And, I'm very fortunate. I get to do this again this year, coming up here. So I know.
Weird. I'm surprised you signed up for it again, Brittani.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird.
Right. Well, Brittani mentions the camaraderie and stuff, and that's, we've talked a lot about the youth hunts we do, but we also do a fair number. I mean, we have 28 veteran hunts this year that we're doing. And so, when you get these guys together, if it's just them, it's much different than if you get several of them together. They start talking, and they talk in a completely different vernacular that, I never served. So they're talking about stuff I don't understand. But I was up in north central Wyoming last weekend, south of Ten Sleep, with one of our supporters, Box Elder Ranch and Outfitting. And we had four hunters up there for trophy antelope hunt, right? And 3 of the guys, Well, 3 of them had Purple Hearts and 2 of them had additional Bronze Stars as well. I mean, it was a great time. But, you get these guys together and, they're just sitting there yapping till 1:30 at night, right? Talking, telling stories about where they've been, what they've done, everything else. And it's part of it's a therapy, right? And these guys, they've seen things you and I don't want to see, right? And they're talking about different places they've been in the world and sharing those stories. And it's about the hunt, but it's a lot about the camaraderie for these guys to get together and discuss and, share experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about a lot more than, the experience. So
For sure. And, I would have to imagine when you have that background and you've had those types of experiences, like, I can't fully comprehend, you could tell me a story, but I can't comprehend it because I wasn't there and I haven't had an experience like that. And I think being surrounded by people who have similar backgrounds, similar experiences, is just, there's just a difference there. Mm-hmm. And when you're able to get people like that together, that's just, incredibly important.
Yeah.
And they just, I had a grandfather that he had a hard time. Well, Dale, I think you were down there with us when we had that antelope hunt with that gentleman. He had a silver star, and he hiked out with his grandson for the shot. And when we got back to the car, I'm like, "Is your leg hurting?" He goes, "Well, I don't have a leg." I'm like, "What? Why didn't you tell me that?" Right? And he goes, "Well, it doesn't matter, right? He had lost his leg below the knee, but he wasn't about to bring that up, right?"
Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't you tell me? It didn't come up.
You're like, it didn't matter.
No.
Wow.
No.
Well, Brittani, you mentioned doing this again.
Yep.
So Vortex is doing this again, which we are more than happy to do, want to do, excited about doing. Tell us where we're at. This podcast is actually going to launch on Veterans Day.
Yep.
So tell people about, I guess, how they can nominate their hero.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing the Believe in Heroes campaign again this year. We are so excited. So this kicks off on Veterans Day. So does our campaign. It'll run through November 27th, so the day before Thanksgiving. So you have a little bit over 2 weeks to nominate. You can go to heroes.vtxnation.com to submit your nomination. I'm sure we'll put it in the show notes and all the things, but we are so excited. We will be, accepting nominations, and another lucky winner and their guest will get to attend the Armed Forces Bowl with myself on December 27th, which is the Armed Forces Bowl game this year. So we're really excited about it. I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And just, I know we started this podcast like that, but, we just really wanted to find a way to give back to those who have served their country and are continually to serve. We do a lot on the local level, and we really wanted to do something on the national level. So it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what, branch you served in. We really just, want to read those stories. And that was, another awesome part for me was being able to read the stories and the nominations and being able to share people's stories. I know a lot of times, our veterans tend to be very humble and not want to share their stories. So that's why we went, the Believe in Heroes route. We wanted people to nominate their heroes because a lot of times the heroes don't want to share their stories because they're very humble. And, that's why I thank Brian so much for nominating Dale and, look at the friendship that has formed out of that and stuff like that. So, I'll hit on it again. Kicking off, November 11th on Veterans Day, running through November 27th. You can nominate your hero for an all expenses paid trip to the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl this year again.
Awesome. And you're so right, Brittani. I mean, a person like Dale he's not going to nominate himself, or he might nominate somebody else, but
for sure.
But it takes a person like Brian to recognize that and say, hey, I want to throw your name in the hat, and hopefully we can have an experience like this. So, man, gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for Dale. Thank you for your service, Brian. Thank you for all you do to help the community and the volunteer work that you do. It's just I guarantee it's impactful beyond than any one of us can comprehend. So, and Brittani, thank you for your time here as well.
Thanks for having me, Dale. It was such a pleasure to chat with you again. I know I always look forward to your texts, but Brian, thank you. Dale, thank you for your service, all of the things. So yeah, this was great. It's weird being on this side of the mic again, though.
Hey, it's great having you.
Yeah.
So, and it's great having you guys. Like I said, thanks again. Thanks for everything. One thing I was gonna ask, and I didn't. Maybe we can plug this in somewhere. But how do people find their way into your program?
Yeah. So we off the website, the Rocky Mountain Heroes Foundation website, which is rmheroes.org. We have our hero registration page, right? And so they can register there. And we specifically ask about, do they have any children of between 12 and 17? So we track those, and they get different sorts of emails when the time comes to find, kids for hunting. And then we also ask for, any awards and things they've been, awarded, like Purple Heart, Bronze Star, et cetera, because we have certain donors that, and certain hunts that are specifically for people like that. So, we have a bison hunt up in Cody, Wyoming. That is a Purple Heart hunt. And we've done it for 6 or 7 years, but, there's 6 years. Yeah. So we, there's certain people that we plug into we meet the requirements that the donor provides to us. Right.
Awesome.
And we're 100% volunteer organization. So I have a full-time job. Right. And then on the weekends I could do this, and we don't get, they pay for our gas and they pay for our food, but beyond that, man, it's not a, I don't want to do it full time. If it became a job, that would bum me out, right? I don't want it to be a job. I like doing it as a volunteer.
It sounds like not really. The time component sounds like two full-time jobs, but
yep.
Yeah, it is. It is. Last week, I left on Friday morning at 7 and got back on Saturday night at about 7:30. And drove 800 miles and shot 4 antelope. Right, all 70 inch plus antelope. Yeah, we had a good time.
That's a heck of a weekend.
Yeah, that's a heck of a weekend.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. Right. Thanks everybody for listening. Like we said, nominate your hero.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.